The Switch 2 could be in some slight trouble when it comes to a certain category. We just got Nintendo's recent earnings report, which we got to see how many Switch 2 units are being sold over the last quarter, along with their brand new updated software sales, including some new games that were thrown in there. And it gives us a good little idea of how the Switch 2 is doing. And for a lot of reasons, it's doing really, really well, but also for some reasons, it's getting a little scary in certain categories. There's a lot of stuff that we got to talk about and opinions that I got to give, but first, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are still slowly reaching our goal of 400,000 subscribers. We're only about 3K away. You guys can make that happen super soon by leaving a like and subscribing. Let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe from today's video. Thank you so much, and let's dive into the recent Nintendo earnings. Now, all of this data is provided to us thanks to Pierre485 on Twitter, and we start off with the Nintendo Switch 2 that shipped another 3.82 million units, now over 23.68 million units in just 13 months, which is crazy. It's still the fastest selling Nintendo console after 5 quarters, and yeah, it's going crazy, and especially after that slow first quarter sales that normally we get, it actually is doing really, really well, and that's what makes this video even more confusing when I get to some of the details here. Here's a line chart showing all the Nintendo consoles and their growth over time, and as you can see, the other consoles had some strong spikes upward as they started getting certain softwares. I mean, if you see the Wii and even the Switch 1, and shoot, even the Nintendo DS had some super spikes upward. We're gonna have to see if the Switch 2 can continue its momentum upward or will it start to flatline soon. But what makes this so strange is Nintendo's latest software sales. Now first, I'm gonna start off with the Switch 1 game being Tomodachi Life, and it sold absolute gangbusters. Almost 8 million units in just 3 months. I mean, come on, we knew this was going to be the case. With that giant install base on the Switch plus the Switch 2 owners, yeah, this was just going to be super popular, and I'm glad to see that this franchise is continuing to grow. But let's start talking about the Switch 2 specific software. Pokemon Pokopia is now over 3.68 million units in 4 months, which is really good, but I'm sorry, I kind of expected this to be a lot better. The way this game was hyped up to be like better than Animal Crossing, and I played it, and I will say, I even enjoyed it way more than Animal Crossing New Horizons. I thought this was going to be a big, massive deal, selling way more than even Donkey Kong Bonanza, but no, it's still just a little bit under Bonanza, only about 4 million, which I think even for a Pokemon spinoff, I was expecting just a bit more. Mario Kart World is still the top seller with another 690k units in the last quarter, now bringing it to 15.39 million. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of this is still because it was bundled in with the Switch 2, and it was the only game that you could really play with your Switch 2 as soon as it launched. You still had to wait a month for things like Donkey Kong Bonanza. You could play Switch 2 editions and stuff, but this was really the only Switch 2 game we had, and you can start to see, as we're starting to see the sales plummet off of a cliff from where they were. As you can see, as soon as we got into Q1, sales started to drop right after the holiday season, which is normal, but it's a pretty significant drop. And a big reason for this is probably because this is where they got rid of the Mario Kart World bundle for the Switch 2. So now, if you want Mario Kart World, you just got to go out and buy Mario Kart World. And it looks like people are like, oh, I don't know. With only 670,000 in Q1 and 690,000 in Q2. This sudden drop has started to flatline Mario Kart World just a little bit in comparison to something like Mario Kart Wii that continued to blossom upward, and even starting to hit where Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continued to obviously go upward and onward throughout its entire history. It's not beating Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we knew this regardless, but still, it's already starting to see its legs fall off. Now, this recent quarter, Mario Kart World sold 690k units, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe 450k. Dang near close for a game that came out 10 years ago. This game is still continuing to sell. I can't blame them. It's a lot cheaper than Mario Kart World at its $80 price tag, and honestly, if you just buy the DLC, you're pretty much paying the same price for almost 3 times the amount of tracks you get. I'm sorry, I'm not a Mario Kart World hater, but I'm definitely not a supporter. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a better game. I'm sorry, it's true. Kirby Air Riders has pretty much dropped off of everything, which is definitely a shame for a Sakurai game, which I think was a really good game, but you know, it's still very niche. It's a Kirby racing spinoff. It's definitely the best performing spinoff, I think, for Kirby, but man, I had to do a double triple take at this because only 30k units in Q2, 30,000 units. Wow, that's not good. And the one that still blows my mind is Donkey Kong Bonanza. To me, it is the game to get for your Switch 2. It is so good, and did it still sell well? Absolutely, at nearly 5 million units. but $5 million for the second and one of the biggest starts to your brand new console isn't as good as I was hoping it would have been. This should have been a game that took over and been just as high or close to Mario Kart World. I can't believe that this game just did not perform better. It definitely deserved to, and especially considering the fact that a lot of people, and I'm sure even Nintendo, probably saw this game as their current 3D Mario. Its sales didn't completely drop off like Kirby's since Q3 to Q4, but it's kind of just stagnating right there at around 260 to 250,000 units each quarter. So I think Donkey Kong would probably very slowly milk its way to close to 6 million units and probably not go much past that. And Pokemon Legends ZA's total sales have also just kind of plummeted since Q4 of 2025. Now, with Q2 of 2026, only around 50,000 units have been sold recently. So when it comes to Switch 2 over 1 million sellers, there's only 6 on the list currently. Somehow Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition barely made the list, squeaked in at number 6 at 1.1 million in sales, Kirby Air Riders at 1.9, Pokemon Pokopia at 3.6, Pokemon Legends ZA, the Switch 2 edition specifically, at 3.9, Donkey Kong Bonanza at 4.7, and Mario Kart World way up there at 15.3. Now, obviously, we still have not seen anything about Metroid Prime 4, and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book isn't here either after 41 days, and Star Fox not here after only 6 days. Star Fox is still a little too early to tell right now, but Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, I mean, we could kind of expect this. Obviously, Mario Tennis Fever is not up there either still. These are games that I think were charged way too much for what they were, but I still stand for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book as one of the best Switch 2 titles right now. No, I'm not joking. It's a really good game if you give it a chance. It's a shame to see that it hasn't even gotten over 1 mil yet. Honestly, these top Switch 2 performers is pretty lackluster outside of Mario Kart World, which of course was bundled with the Switch 2, but when you look at the other titles, Donkey Kong Bonanza is definitely doing good as far as a Donkey Kong game, and Pokemon games, I kind of expected them to be higher for Pokemon games, even if they aren't mainline new-gen games. Yeah, I don't know. The numbers for the Switch 2 software just aren't really hitting the highs that we've seen with Switch 1 in its first handful of months. For some reason, the Switch 2 hardware is selling like hotcakes, but the software isn't. In fact, when you look at the line graph of the software itself compared to other consoles, yeah, it's already getting outran by things like even the GameCube is doing pretty similar to the way the Switch 2 is doing. Nintendo Switch obviously boosted way ahead of it, and the Wii way ahead of both of those out the beginning. Now, thankfully, Nintendo's stock is up after this latest briefing, but I think it had to do with tariffs from stuff that I've seen online. It wasn't like directly related to anything. Plus, Nintendo is raising the price right now of the Switch 2 literally next month, which is something that investors have been asking them to do, so it might be a combination of both of those. But to put this into clearer terms, with the Switch 1, there was like 5 or 6 titles that got over 1 million copies sold within 1 year outside of Japan alone. These copies include things like Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Breath of the Wild, ARMS, 1-2 Switch, Xenoblade, Pokken. Shoot, I think even Mario Rabbids all reached over 1 million within its first year outside of Japan. And I don't think any of those games had bundles at the time, at least none that I'm aware of. But yeah, lots of people are buying Switch 2s, but no one's buying the software. So what is going on here? What is the reason behind this? There's a lot of reasons, I believe. I think one is maybe people are just buying the stronger hardware to have a stronger Switch, and they're just sticking with the software that they want to buy on Switch 1 still, because Switch 1's library is so daggone good. There's so many games to play still, and now you can play them at a slightly better frame rate and better graphics on your Switch 2, which I think is also a tell that the Switch 2 software isn't really appealing to a large audience, at least especially not in the West, compared to the way it is in Japan right now. I mean, you look at the things that have come out, not many of them please Western audiences. Splatoon Raiders, Kirby Air Riders, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, and the upcoming Xenoblade Genesis, these are all games that Japan is going to go crazy for. Not so much in the West in comparison. For the West, it's mostly just Pokemon, Donkey Kong, and Mario Kart. But also, I think price is a major factor. I think Nintendo charging sometimes full prices for things like Mario Tennis Fever at $70 is just insane. And also having $80 video games is just not the way to go. No one wants to pay $80 for Mario Kart World now that it's outside of a bundle, and the same thing is going to happen with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Mark my words. No matter how good this game game looks, and as a person that just started getting into Fire Emblem, I admit, it looks really, really good. But for $80 is going to be a steep price point, especially for newcomers that want to try the game out for the first time. This might immediately scare them off. This is the second game after Mario Kart World to be $80. It's kind of insane, especially for a series which is not niche, but more on the smaller end when it comes to some of Nintendo's more popular franchises. But I say this same thing on every single earnings report, and I keep getting backlash, and everybody's calling me crazy. Look, I want Nintendo to succeed, okay? And I get it. I can be a meme at times talking about we need a big game. We need a big game to unite the community. But literally, look at these software sales. It is not a joke anymore. I am not saying this to troll or anything like that. Literally, Nintendo needs some bigger games. I think so far Nintendo has had a really good, unique variety of Switch 2 games, things that are more like experimental projects that they were trying out, like a, spin-off of Splatoon and stuff, which is pretty cool. But this is not the strategy to start your brand new console with. In comparison to what they did with Switch 1, you're not starting it off with a large amount of people jumping into your console because you have a 3D Mario there, a Smash Brothers there, or a brand new Zelda. You don't have that this time around. You don't have something that's truthfully bringing people in outside of like Mario Kart World and barely even Donkey Kong Bonanza. No matter how many times I keep hearing Donkey Kong Bonanza is your 3D Mario, clearly the sales say absolutely not. Which I will still say, it's not fair to Donkey Kong Bonanza because that is a brilliant game. But people are still holding out and waiting for things like 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, a brand new Smash Brothers, Animal Crossing, Mario Maker, Luigi's Mansion, the next Kirby mainline game. There's so much stuff that people are waiting for, and Nintendo has not touched over 95% of their major IPs yet. And we are already within year 2 of Switch 2, and we already know the lineup for the rest of the year, and the only thing that's gonna probably help them out is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. And I'm hoping it's big and ambitious enough to carry the legs for the Switch 2 into the second holiday season. I honestly just don't know what Nintendo's thinking. They're also raising the price of the Switch 2, so you'd think they'd have even more obligation to show off some of these massive games that they're working on, but they're just staying silent. Every Nintendo Direct comes with maybe one new announced game, and it's something that the general audience just doesn't care about. If I'm Nintendo, gearing up for my June Summer Nintendo Direct, the biggest one of the year normally, the one that everybody's waiting for, you've already skipped the February Direct, so everybody's eyes are specifically on this one. It's been 9 months since your last show. I'm doing everything I can to win the audience over, knowing that I'm raising the price and all this stuff is going on with the tariffs and the extreme prices of the world. I need to prove to my fans why they need to buy into my new console. So what am I doing? I'm showing off a new 3D Mario that's coming out sometime in 2027. I'm teasing it to get people excited and ready for it. I'm showing off a Zelda anniversary to tease maybe an upcoming Zelda game even that's coming way down the road. But hey, here's Ocarina of Time and here's some gameplay that we'll show you that's coming this year. I'm teasing Smash Brothers. I'm teasing some of the bigger franchises to at least get people looking forward to those things. I keep getting called a crazy person and a madman for these takes, but I mean, it's becoming even more and more true every single investor meeting that Nintendo has. And look, once again, this is not me trying to be negative. This is not me trying to bash the company. This is me trying to figure out what Nintendo's main teams have been working on this whole time. It's just confusing. I don't know if just none of these major games are close to being done or something. For some reason, they're taking longer than any other AAA game in the industry. I mean, Mario Kart World took dang near over 10 years. 3D Mario is going to be close to 10 years, Smash Bros. Over 8, Mario Maker and Luigi's Mansion over 7. So I don't know what's going on, but at the same time, if it was possible, I think Nintendo should have just waited maybe a little longer or something, or maybe even released Tears of the Kingdom or something, held that off and released that as a launch title for Switch 2 instead. But it seems like their strategy was, let's start off a little slower because we've already had success from the Switch 1. This isn't a Wii U to Switch situation. We don't need to prove ourselves right now. So let's start off with some more experimental titles. Let's test the waters, and then let's wow them after about 2 to 3 years. Maybe that's their plan, but honestly, I don't think it's a good one. Year 1 to year 2 should have been all focused on your biggest titles you got planned for the Switch 2, and then you start to introduce more spin-offs and more experimental titles, or have those launch in between big releases. Every year should have 1 to 2 massive games for Nintendo, and in my opinion, this year hasn't had any. And Ocarina of Time might be the only one, and that's a remake of a remake. You see what I'm saying here? There will still be undoubtedly people that get mad at me for posting this video and saying, "Are you hating on my big Nintendo? I love them." I love Nintendo too. I really, really do. The last thing on earth I would want is for Nintendo to start failing with their software. So yes, I want them to do better, and when I'm looking at this chart, it's not looking so hot so far. It's early, Nintendo still has time to reveal some really big games and wow us, but right now, their sales is still showing that, hey, you need to drop some bangers, Nintendo. You need to start revealing some stuff. So this September Nintendo Direct, I want to say is important for them, but I say that every single Nintendo Direct, like, hey, this one's important. They really need to show us some stuff. And the last two, in my opinion, have been some of the worst Nintendo Directs I've seen out of them ever. So it wouldn't surprise me if they go 3 for 3 with another bad Nintendo Direct. I'm expecting nothing from this thing. But yeah, I mean, we'll see next month what Nintendo has up their sleeves. I'm sure they'll have some big Zelda 40th anniversary celebration stuff, but they got to reveal something special. I think it's time to finally unlock the door on that 3D Mario and show us what the heck is going on with it. But who knows? At this rate, I'm not expecting it. I don't care about Mario anymore. I do, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? But what do you guys think? Why are Switch 2 console sales so high, but the software sales dwindling so low? I don't know. Maybe you guys know more than me. Let me know in the comments down below. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. Jesus loves you, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.